2021 Jaguar E-Pace. I do not know what this vehicle is. This is the first one I'm working on. I've never seen this vehicle before. And it is YF vehicle, 525 grams. I do not see, and since it says E, has the letter E in it, I'm guessing that this is a hybrid vehicle because it has an engine. So it has an ICE, it has an ICE engine in it. But I don't see the bright orange cords anywhere. And I was looking in for a plug-in that it was a plug-in. But something that makes me believe that this has a battery pack in it, without going any further, is its massive secondary heat exchanger for glycol. So here's the radiator right here. This is the radiator, the plastic right here. If you see right here, here's the radiator. Here's the condenser right here for the air conditioning. But if you look behind the condenser, there's another heat exchanger, a glycol heat exchanger, and they put back a OEM. Look at the size of that tube there. So that's like inside diameter of 5/8 of an inch, probably 3/4 of an inch outside diameter, or 19 millimeters for you guys on the other side of the pond. And that is this, no, that guy right there. This is the OEM Jaguar condenser. Here's the radiator. It has a little seal on it. But let's get over here and take a look at this heat exchanger. This is what I'm getting to. You know the massive heat rejection, that the capability of this heat exchanger for the glycol loop is about equal, if not greater than, the radiator for the engine. Actually, let me take a closer look at this. Oh yes. So look at the thickness of my pinky finger and look at the thickness of the engine coolant radiator. You see that? Now, look at the thickness of this heat exchanger. It's double that. The BTU rejection capacity of this heat exchanger exceeds the BTU heat exchanger of this radiator. Now, unless they have this on some sort of secondary loop where it's controlled by diverting valves and water pumps to add cooling capacity during hot engine and hot climates or something like that, I don't know that. I would have to Google this car. And I was looking for, it has a standard, they don't have a electric pump on here, and that's the manufacturer's name of that pump. I haven't seen that name before. See that name right there? That is new to me. And there it is right there's, let's get to the sticker right there. Zoom in on that. There you go. So that is made in Hungary. I think I've seen these made in Hungary. I don't recognize that name on a clutch before. So I believe that's for me, unless I just have a bad memory, at first, for that particular name. So I'm thinking this has a, I'm looking for a turbo. What I was looking for is a turbo and an intercooler. That's the other thing that could be for. Instead of a battery pack, it could be for a turbo and an intercooler. And let's, oh, look what we got right there. Right there. I think I see a turbo right there. There we go. We got a turbo. We got a massive intercooler. We must be a small displacement engine. Let me see if I could see an engine sticker around here. So let's see if this is a small displacement engine. Can somebody see the engine size on here? 2 liter. So this is a little 2 liter on this big SUV. And wide tires. It must be a performance package. So this must be a high boost turbocharger, and there got to be a Jaguar guy out there who's watching this video who can tell me. So this is a high pressure, high boost. That means it's going to make a lot of heat in the intake air. So by compressing the air, it's going to drive the temperature of the air up really high. When you drive the temperature of your intake air really high, the air wants to expand like a helium balloon. And that means less power less air to the cylinder. So what they want to do is they want to use an intercooler. So let's follow these lines. Right there. I think that's the line. You see that line right there where the silver and the rubber, it's coming from that direction. And then you see that looks like a top plate of a radiator right there with the large, that's air. That one is air right there. So here's air, here's air. Let's follow that right there, that guy. That is your air to glycol heat exchanger, like on the Hemi for the Dodge Hellcat. So this is a mini water to air cooler, and there's your diverting valves, and there's your connectors down here going to this plate heat exchanger that is air to water for the boost pressure. And I see the big pipe off the bottom is going back there somewhere. Okay, so that's a turbo intercooler. Okay, so they're making so much heat that they have to reject the heat and cool down the air going to the intake manifold from the turbocharger. That is what that is for. And following that air passage over, let's see, where's that air go? There, goes up. I see it's going into the intake manifold. So it goes down under here into the intake manifold to feed the intake into the head, and then the head exits out to the turbo back here. So the BTU heat rejection capability for the boosted air to be chilled down is greater need than the engine. Actually, I'm gonna ask him if I could keep this. I got an experiment I could do with this, because this is the old one. I guess it got bent or something, or a little twisted on one of the lines. Because I think I see the line. The line goes at an angle. So this line comes down at an angle, and I think the line got bent up or something, so they replaced this, but it's still good. You can use this to heat your house. So in one of my houses, I have a Bosch, rather large tankless water heater that can do two things. It heats your domestic water for your whole entire house. It can also be used with a plate heat exchanger and a fan in your furnace, and you can heat your entire house off your Bosch tankless water heater. And I always wanted to set one of those up. I never did it, but I should just play with that as an experiment. I'm gonna ask him if I could take this home and use this as, that's really big, that's overkill for a house, for a small house in San Francisco that has a mild climate. That's way overkill. I'll just have to turn down the water flow way down because it'll be too much heat, and play with the air speed. But I could put this in the furnace vent of one of, I'll do in my house that I had an old gravity feed service. And I can heat the entire house using the gas-fired Bosch tankless water heater. And that's good. Okay, I got a good project coming up in the future because I always wanted to do it. And since this has this about the size I need, even overkill for a small residential house, we got 5/8 there, good enough for government work. That's probably an $800 heat exchanger right there for glycol. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. And I'll continue on with this. We're getting down to 500 microns right now. I like to get down to about 100 or so. And I'll see you guys later. But yeah, a car I've never seen for, a Jaguar E-Pace. See you guys.